Dawn hasn't broken yet, but Jabez is already awake, kneeling in the dust outside his village, hands trembling as they rise toward a sky bruised purple and gold. His fingers splay wide, catching the first light, and for a moment he looks like a man trying to hold the sun itself. His lips move, no sound at first, then barely a whisper that somehow feels like thunder. "Oh, that you would bless me indeed." His eyes are squeezed shut, jaw clenched, a single tear tracking through the dust on his cheek. "And enlarge my territory." His breath catches, holds, "that your hand would be with me, and that you would keep me from evil, that I may not cause pain." Silence, the kind that presses on your chest. Then he opens his eyes, and they're different, certain, dangerous. But here's what you need to know. This man's name means pain. His own mother spoke it over him at birth like a curse. The village won't let him forget it. He has no inheritance, no father, no future. So why does he dare to ask the God of Israel for blessing? What kind of prayer can rewrite a destiny spoken over you the moment you drew breath? And what did Jabez understand about God that his entire generation missed? This is the story of a name that became a prison, a prayer that shattered shame, and a blessing so dangerous it required divine protection. 58 words that changed everything. By the end, you'll understand why this prayer, buried in Chronicles, is easy to skip, has transformed millions of lives across centuries, and why it might be exactly what you need to pray today. But first, you need to see where it started. If this story stirs something in you, if you've ever felt marked by something you didn't choose, subscribe and turn on the bell, because what happens next will challenge everything you thought you knew about prayer, blessing, and the kind of God who listens to the desperate. Now, 12 years earlier, a woman screams. 12 years earlier, a boy sits alone outside the village gate, tracing his name in the dust with a stick. Jabez, pain. He draws each letter slowly, carefully, like he's trying to understand why those particular shapes were chosen for him. Other children run past, their laughter sharp and bright in the afternoon heat. But none call to him, none even look his way. A woman's voice cuts through the air. "Jabez, come help me." He stands, brushes the name away with his foot, one quick motion that's become habit, and walks toward home. The village well. Women cluster in tight groups, filling their water jars, their voices rising and falling in that particular rhythm of shared gossip. Jabez approaches with his mother's vessel, and the conversation stops. Just stops, like someone blew out a candle. A woman pulls her daughter closer, hand tight on the girl's shoulder. Another woman, older, with kind eyes that have gone suddenly hard, murmurs just loud enough for him to hear, "That's the boy of sorrow." His mother prophesied it over him at birth. Jabez fills the jar in silence. His hands shake, just slightly, but enough that water splashes over the rim, darkening the dust at his feet. He doesn't look at any of them. He's learned not to. Eye contact invites questions he can't answer, pity he doesn't want, or worse, the casual cruelty of people who believe they're simply stating facts. He lifts the heavy jar and walks away. Behind him, the women's voices resume, softer now, but he can still hear the shape of his name in their whispers. That night, Jabez sits on his rooftop. Below, families gather around cooking fires, fathers with sons, mothers with daughters, the easy intimacy of blessing and belonging. He watches a man place both hands on his son's head, speaking words Jabez can't hear but recognizes anyway. Blessing, inheritance, future. He touches his own head. No one has ever blessed him. No hand has ever rested there with weight and intention, speaking identity into him that wasn't wrapped in sorrow. From inside his tunic, he pulls out a worn scrap of parchment, a copy he begged from the village scribe months ago. Genealogies, names flowing like rivers. Judah begat Perez, Perez begat Hezron, on and on, each name a link in an unbroken chain. He traces the lines with his finger, searching. His name isn't there. Oh, his mother's family is listed, distant cousins, second and third branches, but him, the boy born in such pain his mother named him for it, he's been erased or never written in the first place. A voice behind him, rough with age, looking for yourself in the wrong scrolls, boy. Jabez startles, turns. Old Rabbi Eleazar is climbing onto the roof, moving with the careful dignity of a man whose bones ache, but whose spirit refuses to bow. He wasn't invited, but he comes anyway, settling beside Jabez with a grunt. Your mother named you Pain, Eleazar says without preamble, because your birth nearly killed her. 3 days of labor. The midwives thought she'd die. When you finally came, small, blue, barely breathing, she looked at you and spoke the only word she had strength for. Jabez, Pain. Jabez stares at the parchment in his hands. So I'm a reminder. Every time she looks at me, she remembers almost dying. No, Elisa's voice is firm. She named you what she felt in that moment, but she didn't know what God was doing. Jabez looks up sharply. God doesn't see me. I have no blessing, no inheritance, no... His voice cracks. He swallows hard. I'm not even in the records. Elisa reaches over, taps the parchment. These are men's records. Men write down what they think matters. Land, lineage, who begat whom, but God keeps different books. The old man pulls himself to his feet, joints popping. Jabez thinks he's leaving, but Eleazar pauses at the edge of the roof, 1 foot on the ladder. You have a tongue, boy, and the God of our fathers doesn't just listen to blessed names, he listens to hungry hearts. He starts down, then stops, looks back. The God who changed Abram's name to Abraham, who turned Jacob the deceiver into Israel the prince, that God is not finished naming people. Then he's gone, disappearing down the ladder with surprising speed. Jabez sits alone again, but the silence feels different now, heavier, charged with something he can't name yet. He stares at his hands in the moonlight, calloused, strong, despite everything, capable. These hands have been taught they can only carry pain. But what if that's not true? What if Rabbi Eleazar is right, and God sees something else? For the first time in his 12 years, Jabez whispers into the night, God of Israel, do you see me? No answer. Just wind moving through the village, carrying smoke and distant voices. But something in his chest shifts, loosens, like a fist unclenching. He lies back on the roof, staring up at stars scattered like seed across black soil. Somewhere in the village, a baby cries. A mother's voice soothes, a door closes, life continues, indifferent to the boy on the roof who just spoke his first real prayer. But dawn comes anyway, as it always does. And when Jabez wakes, his heart is pounding with words forming on his lips. Words he doesn't fully understand yet, dangerous and desperate and hungry, the beginning of a prayer that will change everything. Market day. The village square pulses with voices, merchants shouting prices, women haggling over grain, children weaving between adults with sticky hands and gap-toothed grins. Jabez stands behind his mother's small bread stall, arranging the morning's loaves in neat rows. The bread is good, his mother's hands know their work, but the stall sits at the far edge of the market, where foot traffic thins and sales come slowly. A copper coin rolls past, glinting in the dust. A small boy chases it, laughing. Jabez reaches down, catches it before it disappears under a cart, and holds it out to the child. The boy's father appears instantly, snatching the child back with one hand while taking the coin with the other. He doesn't say thank you. He doesn't say anything. just pulls his son away, and Jabez hears him mutter, "Don't let him touch you." The boy looks back, confused, but his father's hand is firm on his shoulder, steering him toward brighter stalls, safer merchants, people whose names don't carry weight. Jabez's mother watches from behind her bread. Her face shows nothing. She's had years to perfect that expression, but her hands still for just a moment before resuming their work. "They think your name is contagious," she says quietly, not bitter, just stating fact. 3 village elders walk through the market, their presence parting crowds like a shepherd's staff through sheep. They're discussing something, land disputes probably, or taxes, but they pause near the bread stall. One of them, Nashon, is wealthy in the way that shows. Fine linen, a walking staff carved from imported cedar, rings that catch the sun. He's also cruel in the way that doesn't have to show, it simply is. He notices Jabez and stops. "Still here, boy of pain." His voice carries the lazy confidence of a man who's never been told no. "I thought sorrow would have swallowed you by now." His companions laugh, dutiful, automatic, the kind of laughter that costs nothing because it comes from men who risk nothing. Jabez says nothing. He's learned this too. Silence is safer than speech. Words create targets. But Nashon isn't finished. He steps closer, and Jabez smells wine on his breath even though it's barely midday. "You know why your name isn't in the registers? Because pain has no inheritance. You're a dead branch, boy, cut off from the tree." He reaches into his purse, pulls out a small coin, not silver, just copper, nearly worthless, and flicks it at Jabez's feet. It lands in the dust between them. Not charity, humiliation. The elders move on, their laughter trailing behind them like smoke. Jabez's mother bends, picks up the coin, and tucks it into her belt without a word. They need it. That's the worst part. They actually need it. That night, Jabez walks to the wilderness edge, past the last houses where lamplight still flickers, past the sheep pens and storage caves, to where rock juts from sand like broken teeth. This is where the village ends and the wild begins, where scorpions hunt and jackals call, and men don't go after dark unless they're running from something, or running toward something. He kneels on the hard ground. Sharp stones dig into his knees, but he doesn't move. His first real prayer pours out, not the tentative whisper from the rooftop, but something raw, more desperate. "God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob." His voice shakes. "I don't know if you hear the unnamed. I don't know if you listen to boys whose mothers spoke curses at their birth instead of blessings, but Rabbi Eliezer said, 'You listen to hungry hearts, and God, I'm starving.'" The words come faster now, tumbling over each other. "I've lived 12 years as pain, 12 years of watching people pull their children away, 12 years of standing at the edge while others receive blessing and inheritance and purpose. If that's all I'll ever be, if pain is my beginning and my end, then tell me now. Let me know so I can stop hoping." He stops, swallows hard. His throat aches. "But if there's more, if you see something in me that no one else sees, if this name isn't the final word," he can't finish, doesn't know how to finish, so he just kneels there, hands open, breath ragged, waiting. Silence, no thunder, no voice from heaven, no burning bush or pillar of fire. Just silence and wind and the distant yip of a jackal. But then, something. Not audible, not visible, but undeniably present. Like breath on the back of his neck. Like being watched by something vast and impossibly kind. The hair on his arms rises, his skin prickles. He opens his eyes slowly, half afraid of what he'll see. A desert fox sits 3 paces away. Small, russet-colored, ears alert. It stares at him with black eyes that catch the moonlight. Foxes don't approach humans. They don't sit still like this, unafraid, present. The fox tilts its head, studying him. Then it turns and vanishes into shadow, silent as thought. Jabez sits frozen. Was that Could that be? He doesn't know, but something in his chest has cracked open and he can't close it again. He walks back to the village slowly, mind churning. The gate is empty, everyone inside now, doors barred, lamps dimming. But near the entrance, he sees them, Nashon and two other elders, huddled in conversation, their faces orange in torchlight. Nashon looks up, sees Jabez. His mouth curves into something that might be a smile on a kinder man. Out howling at the moon, pain child, begging God to unmake you. The other men chuckle. It's expected. It's easy. And Jabez, instead of dropping his eyes, instead of hurrying past, instead of swallowing the shame and carrying it home like he always does, stops, turns, looks Nashon directly in the eye. "My name is Jabez," he says. His voice doesn't shake, doesn't rise, just states fact. And God hasn't forgotten it. The laughter dies instantly. Nashon's smile freezes, then melts into something uglier. The other elders glance at each other, uncertain. "But what did you say?" But Jabez is already walking away, heart hammering, hands trembling now that the moment has passed. He doesn't look back, doesn't run, just walks with his spine straight and his head up, something he hasn't done in years. Behind him, one of the elders whispers, "Did he just claim God knows him?" Nashon's response is too quiet to hear, but the anger in it carries. At a nearby window, a woman stands in shadow, watching. She clutches her shawl tight around her shoulders, face half hidden, but her eyes shine with moisture that could be fear or hope. Jabez's mother watches her son disappear into their small house, and for the first time since his birth, since the 3 days of agony that nearly killed her, since the moment she gasped out his name with her last strength, she wonders if maybe, possibly, the pain wasn't the end of his story, just the beginning. 2 years pass. Jabez is 14 now, no longer a boy but not quite a man, caught in that raw space between. He's grown taller, broader through the shoulders, his hands thick with calluses from work. But it's his eyes that have changed most. Quieter, deeper, like he's watching something the rest of the village can't see. He works construction on the new grain storehouse at the village edge, hauling stones that make grown men grunt. Sweat pours down his back, darkening his tunic, but he doesn't slow, doesn't complain. While other young workers joke and shove each other, taking breaks in the shade, Jabez moves with steady, almost mechanical purpose. Lift, carry, set, return. Lift, carry, set, return. The foreman, a thick-armed man named Bezalel, watches him from across the site. He chews a stem of grass, eyes narrowed against the sun. Finally, he walks over, stands beside Jabez as the boy sets another stone. "You work like a man who's trying to prove something." Jabez straightens, wiping his forehead with his arm. "I'm trying to build something." "We're all building. You're the only one who looks angry about it." Jabez picks up another stone. "I'm not angry." Bezalel spits out the grass stem. "No! You're hungry. I've seen it before. Men who work like they're trying to earn what others get for free." He pauses. "You're good with your hands. Strong back. If you keep this up, I'll have real work for you." After what? After Sabbath. After the blessing ceremony. Bezalel's voice softens slightly. "You know, when the young men who turn 15 receive their father's blessing before the assembly." Jabez sets the stone down, doesn't respond, just returns to the pile for another. Sabbath comes, as it always does. The village gathers in the open space near the gates, families pressed together, children wriggling, women balancing infants on their hips. The elders sit on benches at the front, Nashon prominent among them, his beard oiled, his posture radiating authority he didn't earn but inherited. 7 young men stand before the assembly, 14, 15 years old, faces scrubbed clean, wearing their best tunics. Their fathers stand behind them, hands on shoulders, pride evident even in their stillness. This is tradition, the threshold moment when a boy becomes a son of the covenant, when blessing is spoken aloud and inheritance promised. Jabez sits in the back with the women and children, his mother beside him, hands folded in her lap. She hasn't said anything, but he knows she feels it. The weight of this day, the public confirmation of what they both already know. He has no father to bless him, no place in this ceremony, no future being spoken into existence. The first father steps forward, places both hands on his son's head. His voice carries, "The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace." The ancient words, worn smooth by centuries, still sharp enough to cut. One by one, the fathers speak, one by one. The sons receive what Jabez will never have. And then something breaks inside him, not shatters, just breaks open. Jabez stands, his mother's hand shoots out, grabs his wrist. "Don't," she whispers, "please." But he's already moving, walking down the center aisle. Silence spreads like oil on water, people turning, mouths falling open, whispers starting and stopping. By the time he reaches the front, the entire assembly has gone still. He stops before the elders. His heart hammers so hard he's certain everyone can hear it, but his voice is steady. "I have no father, but I request what the law promises every son of Israel, a place in the assembly." Nahshon rises slowly, his face darkening. "You request." He stops himself, visibly controlling his anger, then continues with icy precision. "You are not even listed in the tribal records. You have no lineage we can verify. You have no inheritance. You have no—" "I have the God of Israel." Jabez's voice is louder now, and he's surprised by the strength in it. "That's lineage enough." Gasps, actual gasps. A woman in the third row clutches her husband's arm. One of the younger elders leans forward, eyes wide. Nahshon's control snaps. "How dare you, whose very name is a curse, whose mother prophesied pain over you, you stand before the assembly of God's people and claim inheritance. I claim nothing except what God offers to every son of Abraham. The right to cry out to him, the right to seek his face, the right to ask for blessing." The words hang in the air. No one moves. Even the children have gone quiet. Then Nahshon's voice, cold and final. "You have shamed your mother. You have disrupted the peace of this assembly. Leave now." Jabez turns, walks back up the aisle. His mother won't look at him. Head down, shoulders shaking. He's done this to her, added public humiliation to private sorrow. That night, he can't sleep. The house is too small, the walls too close. Near midnight, he slips out and walks through the empty village to Rabbi Elazar's house. Light still flickers in the window. The old man sleeps little these days, spending his nights with scrolls and prayers and whatever conversations the dying have with God. Jabez knocks softly. The door opens almost immediately, as if Eleazar was expecting him. "I shouldn't have spoken," Jabez says without greeting. "I've shamed my mother, made everything worse." "You spoke truth. That makes people uncomfortable. Come, sit." Inside, the house smells of lamp oil and parchment. Scrolls cover every surface. Eliezer moves to his table, where a large scroll lies open, weighted at the corners with smooth stones. "I've been reading the genealogies tonight," he says, beckoning Jabez closer. "Funny timing, isn't it?" He points to a section, his finger, bent with age, trembling slightly, hovering over Hebrew text. "Look, Judah's line. Jabez was more honorable than his brothers." Jabez leans in, reading the words himself. His name, right there, in the record. That's me. It's every Jabez. It's the Jabez God sees, the one shaped not by his mother's fear, but by his own faith. Eleazar looks at him. "Your name is in the record, boy, not because of your father, not because of lineage or inheritance or anything men write down. Because of who you're becoming. Jabez sinks onto a stool, head in his hands. I don't feel honorable. I feel angry. All the time. Angry at them for rejecting me. Angry at her for naming me this. Angry at God for... He stops. For letting it happen. Eliza finishes gently. Good. Righteous anger is the beginning of faith. Jacob wrestled with God and wouldn't let go until he received blessing. That's not irreverence, boy. That's intimacy. So what do I do with this anger? Eliza smiles, a thin, knowing smile. Turn it into prayer, the kind of prayer that storms heaven, the kind God has been waiting to hear from you. Jabez walks home as dawn begins to gray the eastern sky. His mother is awake, sitting in the doorway wrapped in her shawl. She doesn't speak. He sits beside her. I'm sorry, he says. She reaches over, takes his hand. Her palm is rough, cracked from years of kneading bread. Don't be, I named you pain because I was afraid. But maybe, her voice catches. Maybe God can make something else of it. Morning comes. Jabez arrives at the construction site, tools in hand, ready to work, but Bezalel meets him at the gate, face carefully neutral. You're done here. Jabez stares at him. What? Nahshon owns this project. He came by at dawn. Said you're unlucky. Said the men won't work with you. Bezalel won't meet his eyes. I'm sorry, I don't agree with it, but I have no choice. Past him, Jabez can see the other workers. Some look away quickly. One, younger, mouths, sorry. Jabez sets down his tools, doesn't argue. What would be the point? He turns and walks back toward the village, and it feels like every eye is on him, every door closing as he passes. His mother waits at their house. When she sees his face, she opens her arms. He stands there for a long moment, jaw clenched, hands fisted. I'm making it worse for us. They'll stop buying your bread. She interrupts softly. You're making it possible. Possible for what? She touches his face, the way she did when he was small. For God to show up. Nothing pushes us to our knees like impossibility. That night, Jabez climbs to his rooftop. The stars are sharp and cold. He kneels, and for the first time, the prayer isn't tentative or questioning, it's a demand. God, if you're real, if you see me, if I'm not just pain, but something more, then bless me, not with comfort, not with what's safe. Bless me with territory, with room to be what you made me, with purpose that's bigger than this name. Thunder rolls in the distance. Dry thunder, no rain, no clouds, just sound moving through darkness. He doesn't know it yet, but everything is about to change. 6 months later, Jabez is gaunt, hollow-eyed, moving through the village like a ghost. He's been surviving on odd jobs, repairing roofs for widows who pay in bread, digging cisterns for farmers too cheap to hire real workers, hauling waste from the tannery where the smell clings to him for days. The whispers follow him everywhere now, louder than before. Pain bringer, cursed. His mother should have left him in the desert. He sits at the village edge at dusk, back against a wall, eating stale bread that's 3 days old. His hands are blistered, bleeding in places, wrapped in rags that don't help much. A dog approaches, sniffs his leg, then backs away and trots off. Even the strays won't stay. Music drifts through the air, drums, pipes, singing. A wedding procession winds through the village, all joy and movement and light. Torches blazing, children dancing, the bride in white with flowers in her hair. Jabez watches from shadow, and something in his chest tightens painfully. The bride's father is a man named Joash, a farmer Jabez helped last year, fixing a collapsed grain shed that would have cost Joash his entire harvest. Joash had clasped his hand afterward, eyes wet with gratitude. I won't forget this, if you ever need anything. Now, in the procession, Joash's eyes sweep past Jabez. Their gazes meet for just a second, Recognition flickers across Joash's face. Then he looks away, quickly, deliberately. Jabez understands. Even gratitude can't overcome his name. Even kindness has limits. He stands, legs stiff from sitting, and walks away from the music toward the darkness at the village edge. Later that night, the village well. Jabez waits until he thinks everyone has gone home, until the torches have burned low and the streets are empty. He needs water. His mother's jar is empty, and she's too tired tonight to fetch it herself. He can do this one thing for her. But when he arrives, 3 men are there, sitting on the low wall around the well. Nahshon in the center, wine-flushed even in the dim light, with 2 of his friends, Sheba and Mered, men who laugh at Nahshon's jokes and agree with his pronouncements and would push their own mothers into a pit if he told them to. Nahshon sees Jabez and grins. "Look, pain comes crawling at night like a jackal." Jabez says nothing, just approaches the well, reaches for the rope. Sheba steps in front of him. "Did he say you could drink? It's a public well." "Public for people," Mered adds. "Not sure what you are." Nahshon slides off the wall, unsteady but still dangerous. Wine makes some men jolly. It makes Nahshon cruel. "Here's a question, pain child. Do you think God hears you? When you pray, and I know you do, I've seen you skulking off to the rocks like some kind of prophet. Do you think anything's up there listening?" Jabez tries to move past him, but Nahshon's hand shoots out, grabs his shoulder. His grip is strong despite the wine. "I'm talking to you. Let me go. Answer the question. Does God hear the cursed?" Jabez yanks free, and the sudden movement makes Nahshon stumble. Sheba laughs. Nahshon's face darkens. He kicks over Jabez's water jar, the one his mother sent with him, the good one without cracks. It shatters against the stone, shards scattering. "Oops," Nahshon says flatly. "Here's truth, boy." He steps closer, and Jabez can smell wine and malice. God doesn't bless pain, he causes it. That's what you are, proof that sometimes God curses people before they're even born. Your mother knew it. That's why she named you. She was just honest enough to say it out loud. Sheba and Mered close in on either side. Jabez is strong from work, but they're 3, and he's alone and exhausted. "You want to know what we think?" Nahshon continues. "We think you should leave, go to one of the cities, become someone else's problem, because every day you stay here, you remind us that sometimes God makes mistakes." Something in Jabez snaps, not into anger, into something colder. He looks at Nahshon, really looks at him, and speaks quietly. "You're afraid of me." Nahshon blinks. "What?" "You're afraid. That's why you won't leave me alone, because if God answers a boy named Pain, it means everything you think you know about blessing and curse is wrong. It means your inheritance doesn't matter. Your lineage doesn't matter. It means God might actually prefer the broken to the proud." For a second, genuine shock crosses Nahshon's face. Then rage. He shoves Jabez hard. Jabez stumbles back, trips over the broken jar, falls. His head cracks against stone. White light explodes behind his eyes. When his vision clears, the 3 men are gone. He's alone at the well, bleeding from a gash on his scalp, surrounded by pottery shards, empty-handed. He pulls himself up, touching the wound. Blood comes away on his fingers, black in the darkness. He runs. Out of the village, into the wilderness, not thinking, just moving. His feet know the way by now, the path to the rocks where he prays, where no one comes, where he can break without witnesses. He collapses on the familiar outcrop, and for the first time since he was a child, he sobs. Not quiet tears, full body-shaking sobs that claw their way out of his chest. "Why did you let her name me this? Why do you let them see me like this? I've tried to believe you see me differently, but all anyone sees is pain. That's all I am. That's all I'll ever—" He pounds the stone with his fist. Once, twice, 3 times. Skin splits. Blood flows. He doesn't care. "Answer me." Only silence. wind and darkness and his own ragged breathing. He leans his forehead against the rock, too exhausted to cry anymore. And that's when he sees it. Carved into the stone, nearly erased by wind and time, so faint he almost misses it, Hebrew letters, El Roi, the God who sees, Hagar's name for God, the slave woman, pregnant and abandoned in the wilderness, who thought she would die alone, until God found her, saw her, called her by name. Jabez's bloody fingers trace the letters slowly, reverently. A tear falls onto the stone, darkening the ancient carving. Someone else has been here. Someone else has known this same abandonment, this same desperate need to be seen, and God showed up for them. He sits back, staring at those two words carved in stone. His breathing slows. The panic recedes, leaving something harder, more solid in its place. He stands, his legs shake but they hold. He lifts his hands, the same gesture he's made 100 times, but different now, heavier, more costly, and he prays, not begging this time, not even asking, declaring, God of Israel, I'm still here and I'm asking, no, I'm demanding, bless me indeed, not because I've earned it, not because I deserve it, but because you're the kind of God who blesses the broken. His voice grows stronger. Enlarge my territory. Let me be more than this name, more than what they see, more than what she spoke over me. Give me room to become what you made me. He takes a breath. Put your hand on me. Keep me from evil, that I may not cause pain. The words hang in the air, and for a moment, nothing happens. Then, wind, strong, sudden, from nowhere. It whips his cloak out behind him, stings his eyes, fills his mouth when he gasps. Not a natural wind, something else, something with presence and weight and purpose. Jabez stands in it, arms out, face up, letting it crash over him. It tears at his clothes, drowns out all other sound, pushes him back until his heels are at the edge of the rock. And then, just as suddenly, it stops, complete stillness, not even a breeze. Every sound crystal clear, his heartbeat, his breathing, a nightbird calling in the distance. But something has changed inside him, around him. The air feels different, charged, expectant, a voice. Not audible, he doesn't hear it with his ears, but it settles in his chest, in his bones, undeniable and certain. I have heard you. Jabez stands frozen. Did he imagine it? Was it just his own desperate hope speaking? But no, he knows. The way you know you're loved before anyone says it. The way you know danger before you see it. Deep cellular knowledge. God heard him. He doesn't know what happens next. Doesn't know how God will answer, or when, or what it will cost. But something fundamental has shifted. He walks back to the village slowly, carefully, his head wound, still bleeding, but no longer noticed. His hands are steady now, his breathing even. Dawn is breaking as he enters the village gate. A woman is already up, sweeping her doorway. She glances at him, then does a double take, stares. He nods to her and keeps walking. Behind him, he hears her call to someone inside, "Come look at Jabez." "What about him?" "I don't know." He looks different. A child runs past, stops, turns to stare at him openly. Her mother appears in a doorway, sees Jabez, and pulls the child inside quickly. But as she does, Jabez catches her expression. Not disgust, not pity, fear, and something else. Something he's never seen directed at him before. Curiosity. He arrives at his house. His mother is awake, sitting outside, waiting. She sees the blood on his face and stands quickly, reaching for him. "I'm fine," he says before she can ask. She studies his face, not the wound, but his eyes. "What happened?" "God heard me." She goes very still. "Are you sure?" "Yes." She touches his face gently, her own eyes filling. "Then everything changes now. I know." And in Nashon's house across the village, the wealthy elder wakes from restless sleep. A dream he can't quite remember, leaving him unsettled and afraid. Harvest season. The village square is transformed, tables laden with first fruits, grain sheaves stacked high, the smell of fresh bread and roasting lamb thick in the air. The feast of first fruits, when Israel brings the best of the harvest to honor God, to remember that everything comes from His hand. Families cluster together, children sticky with honey cakes, men laughing over wine, women carrying platters of food. It's communal joy, the kind that binds a village together, that makes you forget for a moment the hardships of the year. Jabez stands at the outer edge, as always, but something is different today. People glance at him, then look away quickly, not with disgust anymore, with something harder to define, uncertainty, like they're not sure what category to put him in anymore. His mother stands beside him, wearing her best shawl, the one she saves for feast days. She's brought bread, her finest loaves, golden and perfect. No one has refused them today. That's new. Then Rabbi Eleazar's voice cuts through the noise. The old man stands at the center of the gathering, one hand on his staff for balance. He's aged visibly in recent months, skin like parchment, movements careful and slow, but his voice still carries Jabez Ben. He pauses. The crowd quiets. Jabez, son of the promise. Come forward. The silence is instant and absolute. A dropped cup would sound like thunder. Nashon, seated at the head table with the other elders, half rises from his seat. What are you doing? Eliezer ignores him. His eyes are fixed on Jabez. Come. Jabez's mother touches his arm, not restraining, releasing. Go. He walks through the crowd. People step back, creating a path. Some faces show confusion, others, curiosity. A few, and this shocks him, show something that might be hope. He stops before Eleazar. The old man's hand settles on his shoulder, surprisingly heavy for someone so frail. This young man has prayed a prayer that shook heaven. Eleazar's voice is steady, certain. I don't know all God will do, but I know this. The unnamed is about to be named. Murmurs ripple through the crowd. Nashon stands fully now, his face darkening. You overstep, old man. This boy has no... Let him speak, someone calls out. A woman's voice, and from the back, others murmur agreement. Jabez's heart hammers. He didn't plan this, didn't prepare words, but Eleazar's hand is still on his shoulder, and somehow that's enough. His voice comes out rough at first, then steadies. I've asked God for something impossible. He pauses, looks around at faces he's known his entire life, faces that have pitied him, mocked him, feared him. I've asked him to bless me, not in secret, not in private where no one sees openly, so that everyone knows God can bless pain. A woman gasps. An elder leans forward, eyes wide. I've asked him to enlarge my territory, not to give me land I inherit, I have no inheritance, but to give me purpose I earn, to let me build something that matters, to make my life count for more than the name spoken over me at birth. His voice grows stronger. And I've asked him to let his hand be with me, to keep me from evil, so that I stop causing pain and start creating life. The silence that follows is dense, charged. Then Nashon's voice cuts through, sharp and furious. You arrogant fool! You think you can just demand blessing? You think God answers the cursed? You, whose very existence is a reminder of pain, you stand before the assembly and make claims you can't possibly... Jabez turns to face him fully. Their eyes lock. I think God answers the desperate. The words land like stones in still water, ripples spreading. Nashon's mouth opens, closes. He's rarely challenged directly, and never by someone as low as Jabez. The desperate, Jabez continues, and the hungry, the ones who have nothing to lose because they've already lost everything, the ones who cry out not because they're righteous but because they're drowning. He turns back to the crowd. I'm not better than you, I'm not more deserving, but I'm asking. And I have to believe that God doesn't just bless the blessed, that his hand can rest on anyone who reaches for it. An older man, Caleb, a farmer with kind eyes, stands. What if he doesn't answer? What if nothing changes? Jabez looks at him directly. Then I'll still have asked. I'll still have believed there was more. And that's already more than I had. But then a younger voice, sharp with skepticism. Words are easy. Show us. Prove God hears you. Jabez shakes his head slowly. I can't prove anything. That's not how faith works. But I've spoken my prayer aloud before witnesses. Now we wait, all of us, to see if the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is who he says he is. Nahshon slams his hand on the table. This is madness. We're supposed to halt our lives, our feast, to watch a cursed boy test God. Yes, Eleazar says simply. That's exactly what we're supposed to do. The feast continues, but the joy is fractured now. People eat, but conversations are hushed, distracted. Children sense the tension and grow quiet. Eyes keep drifting to Jabez, who has returned to the edge of the gathering. As darkness falls and families begin to leave, Jabez walks home alone. His mother went ahead to prepare for Sabbath. He climbs to his rooftop, the familiar space that's been his prayer closet for years. He kneels, but tonight, doubt floods in like water through cracked clay. What if nothing happens? The thought is small at first, then grows. He spoke boldly before the assembly, declared that God would answer, but what if he misread everything? What if the wind in the wilderness was just wind? What if the voice in his chest was just his own desperate hope speaking? What if I've made a fool of myself? Worse, what if he's made a fool of God? He pulls out parchment and charcoal, begins to write. Not a prayer this time, a confession of doubt. God, I spoke boldly, but I'm afraid if you don't answer, if nothing changes, what will that mean? That you don't hear me, that I was wrong to hope, that he can't finish, doesn't know how to finish. He crumples the parchment in his fist, throws it across the roof. It lands near the lamp. The edges begin to curl in the heat, smoking, blackening. He watches it, too tired to retrieve it, too defeated to care. The smoke rises in a thin line, straight up in the still air, like incense, like prayer. He watches until the parchment has burned to ash, then lies back on the roof, staring at stars that seem impossibly distant. Below, the village sleeps. Doors are barred. Lamps extinguished. Everyone safe in their homes, in their certainties, in their carefully ordered lives. And Jabez lies awake, suspended between heaven and earth, waiting for an answer he's not sure will come. Morning breaks cold and grey. Jabez hasn't slept. His eyes are gritty, his body stiff from lying on hard stone. He sits up slowly, joints cracking. A sound, running footsteps. A boy, young, maybe 10, appears at the base of his roof, breathless. Jabez, come quick, the elders summon you. Jabez's stomach clenches. Why? I don't know, but Nahshon's face. The boy's eyes are wide. He looks like he wants to kill someone. Jabez climbs down, his mother already waiting at the door. Her face is pale but set. She straightens his tunic, her hands shaking slightly. Whatever happens, she whispers, I'm proud of you. He walks to the assembly house. The elders are already gathered, 7 of them, seated in a semicircle. Nahshon stands, pacing like a caged animal. When Jabez enters, he whirls. This man, he points, his finger trembling with rage, claims God has chosen him, but he disrupts our peace. He fills people's heads with dangerous ideas. He makes them question the order God himself established. He steps closer to the other elders. I propose we expel him. Send him to one of the cities of refuge where the cursed belong. Let another village deal with him. Silence. The elders glance at each other. Some look uncomfortable, others thoughtful. Then Eleazar, sitting at the far end, weak but unbowed, speaks. Or, we wait. Nahshon spins toward him. Wait, for what? For the impossible. The head elder, Azariah, leans forward. Explain yourself, Eleazar. The boy has spoken his prayer publicly. He's asked God to bless him, to enlarge his territory, to show his hand. These are testable claims. Eliezer's eyes are bright despite his frailty. So we wait, 3 days, 7, however long it takes. If God answers, we'll know. If he doesn't, he trails off. If he doesn't, Nahshon finishes savagely, then we'll know this boy is exactly what I've always said. Cursed, deluded, dangerous. Azariah looks at Jabez. Do you agree to this? To this test? Jabez's mouth is dry. He didn't ask for this, didn't want to force God's hand, but he's out of options. I agree, not because I'm testing God, but because I trust him. Nahshon laughs bitterly. We'll see. The assembly breaks. Jabez walks out into morning light that feels too bright, too harsh. People have already heard. News travels fast in a small village. They watch him pass, faces carefully neutral. 3 days, Azariah said. But Jabez knows the truth. If nothing happens, 3 days might as well be forever. That afternoon, a stranger arrives at the village gate. He's dressed in fine robes, travel-stained but clearly expensive. A servant walks beside him, leading a donkey laden with supplies. The stranger stops at the gate, speaks to the watchman. I'm looking for someone. A young man called Jabez. The watchman stares. Why? The stranger smiles. Because my master wishes to meet him. Word spreads through the village like wildfire. By the time the stranger reaches the assembly house, half the village has gathered. Jabez stands to one side, heart pounding, not understanding. The stranger bows slightly to the elders, then addresses them formally. I am Jonadab, steward to Othniel ben Kenaz of the house of Caleb. My master has heard of a young man in this village who prayed a remarkable prayer. He wishes to meet him. Nahshon finds his voice first. Why would your master care about... My master believes, Jonadab interrupts smoothly, that God answers the bold. He has no patience for the comfortable, but a man who storms heaven with nothing but faith. He smiles. That interests him greatly. He turns, finds Jabez in the crowd. You're Jabez? Jabez nods, not trusting his voice. My master will arrive within the week. He asks that you prepare to meet with him, to discuss possibilities. The word hangs in the air. Possibilities, territory, blessing. The stranger bows again to the elders, then leaves as quickly as he came. The crowd erupts in whispers. Jabez stands frozen, unable to process what just happened. But before anyone can speak, before hope can fully form, a woman's scream cuts through the noise. Fever! My daughter has fever! And just like that, everything changes. Within hours, 5 more children fall sick. By sunset, the number has doubled. The fever is vicious, burning hot, then icy chills, children crying and thrashing in their sleep. Parents pace through the night, wringing out cool cloths, whispering prayers that sound more like bargaining. Jabez's mother is among the first adults to fall ill. He finds her collapsed near the bread oven, the morning's dough still rising, untouched. Her skin burns under his hand. When he lifts her, carries her inside, lays her on her mat, her eyes flutter open, unfocused. I'm sorry, she whispers. The bread. I didn't finish. Don't worry about the bread. Rest. But she doesn't rest. The fever climbs through the day. By evening, she's delirious, calling out names of people long dead, reaching for things that aren't there. Jabez sits beside her, dipping cloth in water, wiping her forehead, her neck, her wrists, over and over. The water warms almost instantly against her skin. Outside, the village has gone quiet, not peaceful, terrified. Within 3 days, 5 children have died. The wailing of mothers echoes through narrow streets. Fathers stand helpless, faces hollow. The midwife moves from house to house, but she has no cure, no remedy, only presence and failing hope. And the whispers start. Jabez hears them when he goes to the well for fresh water. Women fall silent when he approaches, but their eyes speak clearly. This started after he spoke, after he challenged the order of things. At the market, what's left of it, since most people stay home now, an old man spits at his feet. Doesn't say anything, doesn't need to. The fourth evening, Jabez leaves his mother's side briefly to fetch more water. Nahshon is at the well, surrounded by a cluster of men. When he sees Jabez, his voice rises deliberately. It started after he spoke, after he defied God's order. He turns to face Jabez directly. Pain brings pain. That's what you are. That's all you've ever been. And now our children are dying because you couldn't accept your place. A woman nearby, holding a sick child, looks at Jabez with red-rimmed eyes. Is it true? Did you do this? No, my son is dying. Her voice breaks. And you and your prayers. Someone throws a stone. It strikes Jabez's shoulder. Not hard, but the intent is clear. Others murmur agreement. The crowd's mood is shifting, grief turning to rage, looking for something to blame. Jonadab, the steward, who's been staying at the village inn, witnesses the scene from across the square. He backs away slowly, then disappears into the inn. Within an hour, his donkey is packed. Within 2, he's gone. The message is clear. Whatever possibilities existed have vanished like morning mist. That night, Jabez sits beside his mother. She's worse, much worse. Her breathing is shallow, rapid, her skin grey despite the fever. The midwife came earlier, took one look, and shook her head. I've seen this before. When the body starts to... She stopped herself, touched Jabez's shoulder. I'm sorry. Make her comfortable. Make her comfortable. The words people use when there's nothing left to do. Jabez holds his mother's hand. It's so light, so fragile. When did she become this frail? When did the woman who kneaded bread with strong arms and carried water jars without effort become this hollow thing? She grips his wrist suddenly, her strength shocking, her eyes open, clear for the first time in days. Jabez. I'm here, Ema. I'm here. I named you pain. Her voice is barely a whisper, because I didn't know. God was going to use you to end it. Ema, don't talk. Save your strength. No. Her grip tightens. Listen, you're not my pain. You're my hope. You always were. I just couldn't see it. Tears stream down Jabez's face. You're not leaving. You're going to get better. The fever will break and you'll pray that prayer every day. You'll ask for blessing, not because you deserve it, but because God gives it anyway. Her eyes close. Her grip loosens. She sleeps. Jabez stumbles outside, unable to breathe in the small house. Midnight. The village is dark except for scattered lamps in windows, where families keep vigil over the sick. In one house, he hears a child coughing. In another, a woman weeping. He looks up at his rooftop, the place where he's poured out his heart for years, where he first dared to believe God might hear him. He can't go up there, can't kneel, can't pray. What would he even say? But then, a shout, distant, but clear in the night silence. Then another. Jabez runs toward the sound. It's coming from the house where the first child fell ill. People are gathering outside, holding lamps, faces confused. The door opens. The mother appears, holding her daughter. The child is awake, alert, the fever is gone. She just opened her eyes, the mother says, her voice wondering. She asked for water. She's hungry. Another shout, a different house, another child, sitting up, asking for her father. Then another and another. By dawn, every sick child in the village is recovering. Color returning to their cheeks, fever broken. Asking for food, for their toys, wondering why everyone looks so worried. The village gathers in stunned silence. Parents clutch their children, weeping with relief. The midwife moves from house to house, checking each child, shaking her head in disbelief. I don't understand. Fevers like this don't just break. Not all at once. Not like this. And everyone turns to look at Jabez, standing at the edge of the crowd. Their faces show confusion, wonder, and something else, fear. Nahshon stands nearby, his face pale. He opens his mouth, closes it. For once, he has nothing to say. Jabez walks home in a daze. His mother is sitting up when he enters, sipping water, her eyes clear. "The children," she says. "I heard the shouting. They're better." "Yes. And you still don't believe God hears you?" He sinks to the floor beside her mat. "I don't know what to believe." She touches his face. "Believe this, you prayed for blessing, and God is answering." But that afternoon, everything falls apart. His mother, who seemed so much better, suddenly worsens, violently. The fever returns, but different, not burning hot, freezing cold. She shakes so hard her teeth chatter. Her lips turn blue. The midwife comes running. She works quickly, piling blankets, trying to warm her, but nothing helps. "I don't understand," she whispers to Jabez. "This isn't the same fever. This is something else, something worse." By evening, his mother can't breathe properly. Each breath is a struggle, a wet, rattling sound that makes Jabez's chest ache. The midwife pulls him aside. "She's dying. I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do." And this time, she hesitates. This time, there's no fever to blame. Jabez understands what she's not saying. Last time, it could have been natural. Coincidence. But this, his mother recovers briefly, then immediately gets worse in a completely different way. People will talk, are already talking. He sits beside her through the night. She can't speak anymore, can barely open her eyes. But when she does, they're clear. Searching his face, trying to say something. He takes her hand. "I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." Her fingers squeeze his once. Weakly, he prays, not the bold prayer from before, just desperate, broken fragments. "Please, not her. Take me instead. Let me be the pain, just not her." The night stretches on forever. He dozes, wakes with a start, checks her breathing, still there, still fighting. Dawn comes grey and cold. He's exhausted, eyes burning, back stiff from sitting. His mother's breathing has changed, slower, shallower, each breath taking longer to come. He lifts her gently, carefully, feeling how light she is, bones like a bird, skin like parchment. He carries her up to the rooftop, the place where he's spent so many nights praying, wrestling, hoping. The morning sun is brutal, already hot. Sweat pours down his face, stings his eyes. He lays her down gently, kneels beside her, raises his hands. "God, no. Please, no. Not her." His voice cracks. "Take me. If someone has to be pain, let it be me. I can carry it. I've carried it my whole life. Just don't take her. Please." Below, the village is gathering. He can hear them, see them from the corner of his eye, coming to watch, to witness, to judge. Nahshon's voice carries up. "Where's your blessing now, boy?" Jabez doesn't respond, can't respond. All his attention is on his mother's face, on her chest rising and falling with such effort, on her hand in his. "Please," he whispers, "please." Her breathing stops. For 3 heartbeats, there's nothing. His world narrows to her still chest, her grey face, her hand going limp in his. Then she gasps, a huge, shuddering breath. Her eyes fly open, but they're not looking at him. They're looking past him, above him, at something he can't see. And she smiles. It's the most beautiful thing he's ever seen. Pure joy, pure peace, like she's seeing something wonderful. Then she exhales, gently, softly, and doesn't breathe again. Jabez collapses over her. His back shakes. But no sound comes out. He's beyond sound, beyond tears, beyond anything except this crushing weight in his chest. Below, the village has gone silent. Even Nahshon has stopped speaking. Then a child's voice, high and clear. "Look." Jabez doesn't look up, doesn't care. Nothing matters except the weight of his mother's body, still warm under his hands, the smell of her hair, the way her hand fits in his even though she's gone. "Look." The child's voice is insistent now, excited. "At the horizon." Finally, Jabez raises his head. His vision is blurred, but he sees it, a dust cloud, large, moving fast, getting closer. The village murmurs, uncertain. Is it raiders, soldiers, more sickness? The dust cloud resolves into shapes. Horses, many of them, chariots, fine ones, the kind wealthy men use for travel. At the front, riding a black stallion, is a man Jabez has never seen. He's older, maybe 50, with grey in his beard but strength in his posture. His robes are fine, his bearing that of someone used to authority. The procession enters the village. People scatter, making way. The man dismounts smoothly, his eyes scanning the crowd until they find Jabez on the rooftop. He strides forward, people parting before him, up the ladder, onto the roof. He takes in the scene in an instant, the dying woman, the grieving son. "I came too late once," the man says. His voice is deep, weighted with grief. "Not again." He kneels beside Jabez's mother, places a large hand on her forehead, and prays, not tentatively, not hesitantly. Commanded, "God of Abraham, if you gave this boy a promise, honor it. Now." Silence, complete and absolute. Jabez stares at this stranger who dares to speak to God like that, like someone who knows him, who's walked with him, who expects to be heard. Nothing happens. His mother's chest remains still. Her skin grows cooler. The man doesn't move, keeps his hand on her forehead, keeps praying, but silently now, lips moving without sound. And then a shudder, small, almost imperceptible. Her chest rises, falls, rises again. Her eyes flutter open. Jabez can't speak, can't move. His mother is breathing, actually breathing, chest rising and falling with steady rhythm, color returning to her cheeks. Her eyes, which moments ago were fixed and glazing, now focus on his face with clarity and concern. "Jabez, what's wrong?" He collapses forward, his forehead pressing against her shoulder, and the sound that comes out of him is something between a sob and a laugh. His whole body shakes. She's here. She's alive. She's asking him what's wrong, like she didn't just die in his arms. The stranger stands, gives them a moment, then extends his hand to help Jabez to his feet. His grip is strong, calloused, the hand of a man who knows work despite his fine clothes. "I am Othniel ben Kenaz, of the house of Caleb." The name registers dimly. Caleb, one of only 2 spies who believed God could give Israel the promised land. Caleb who, at 85 years old, asked for the mountain full of giants. Caleb whose faith became legend. "I sent my steward ahead," Othniel continues, looking down at the crowd gathering below. "But he returned with disturbing news, said the village had turned against you, said he feared for his safety." His mouth tightens. "I came myself to see what kind of man could pray a prayer that reached my ears 2 days' journey away." "I don't understand," Jabez manages. "You will." Othniel helps Jabez's mother sit up, his movements careful but competent. He turns to the crowd below. "Someone bring water, food. This woman needs strength." People scramble to obey. Whatever authority he carries, it's absolute. Nahshon appears at the base of the roof, his face a mixture of confusion and barely suppressed rage. "Who are you to give orders in our village?" Othniel looks down at him with the kind of calm that comes from having commanded men in battle. I am Othniel ben Kenaz. I served under Joshua. I fought at Jericho, at Ai, at Hazor. I was there when we divided the land, and I have come for this boy." The declaration hangs in the air. Jabez stares at him. "Come for me?" "Yes." Othniel turns back to him. "But first, let's get your mother off this roof. She needs rest, proper rest." Within minutes, Jabez's mother is back in their house, bundled in blankets, sipping broth that a neighbor brought. The same neighbor who threw a stone at Jabez 2 days ago. Her hands shake as she offers the bowl, unable to meet his eyes. Othniel sends his servants to set up camp at the village edge, then returns to Jabez's small house. He has to duck to enter. The doorway wasn't built for a man of his size. He settles on a stool that creaks under his weight and waits while Jabez tends his mother until she falls into real sleep, peaceful and deep. Only then does Othniel speak. 2 years ago, I lost my son." His voice is steady, but pain lives underneath. He was 23, strong, faithful, everything a father could want. We were traveling to Jerusalem for Passover. Bandits. He fought them off long enough for the rest of us to escape. He died protecting his mother and sisters. Jabez sits across from him, listening. "Since then, I've been praying, asking God what to do with everything I planned to give him. The land, the inheritance, the legacy." Othniel leans forward. "Then, 3 weeks ago, I heard about a boy named Pain who stood before his village and asked God for blessing, who demanded territory, who prayed with such audacity it offended half the people who heard it." He smiles slightly. "That's when I knew God was answering my prayer through yours. I don't understand. I have land," Othniel says simply. "Good land. 50 acres north of here. Fields, orchards, workers, a house. Everything my son would have inherited. And I've been praying for someone to carry it forward. Not just anyone. Someone who understands that blessing isn't about comfort. It's about purpose." He stands, paces in the small space. "When I heard your prayer and enlarge my territory, I knew you're that man. But I had to see for myself. Had to know if you were just speaking words or if you actually believed them. And you buried your face in your dying mother and kept believing anyway. That's faith. That's the kind of man who can carry what I'm offering." Jabez shakes his head slowly. "I'm nobody. I have no lineage, no. You have the God of Israel. You just said so yourself, in front of witnesses." Othniel's voice is firm. "And that's more than most men have with all their genealogies and inheritance." He walks to the door, looks out at the village. "Tomorrow, I'm going to stand before your elders and make an offer. I'm granting you the territory north of here, 50 acres, everything on it, and I'm adopting you into my household." Jabez's mind reels. "You can't. I'm chosen." Othniel turns back. "That's what you are. And there's a difference between cursed and chosen. The world can't always tell which is which until God makes it clear." That night, Jabez lies awake. His mother sleeps peacefully beside him. He moved his mat next to hers, needing to hear her breathe. Every few minutes, he checks. Still breathing. Still here. Outside, he can hear Othniel's camp. Low voices, a fire crackling, horses shuffling. The sounds of wealth, power, possibility, but he can also hear the village, whispers through thin walls, doors opening and closing, nervous energy. Tomorrow, everything changes. Again, he should feel joy, relief. This is the answer to his prayer, more than he dared ask for, territory, blessing, a future. But all he feels is exhausted, hollowed out. His mother nearly died. The village turned on him. Children got sick because he dared to speak. Was it worth it? He looks at his mother's face, peaceful in sleep. Thinks about the stranger who rode 2 days to save her life. Thinks about the words she spoke before the fever took her. "You're not my pain. You're my hope." Maybe it was worth it. Maybe it's still worth it. He closes his eyes and for the first time in days prays. Not the bold declaration, not the desperate plea, just quiet gratitude. Thank you. I don't understand any of this. But thank you. Morning comes too quickly. Jabez wakes to find his mother already up, moving slowly but steadily around their small house. She's making bread, of course she is. Hands in dough, the rhythm that sustained them for years. You should rest, he says. I've rested enough, and we have a guest. Othniel arrives as the sun clears the horizon. He brings two of his men, both armed, both watchful. They walk through the village toward the assembly house, and people come out to watch. Children peer from doorways, women whisper behind their hands, men stand in clusters, trying to look casual, failing. The elders are already gathered. They would have been fools not to expect this. 7 of them, seated in their usual places. Nahshon at the center, his face carefully neutral. Eleazar at the end, looking ancient but alert. Othniel enters without waiting to be announced. Jabez follows, feeling like a child in a room of adults. Except he's the reason they're all here. Othniel doesn't sit, stands before them with the bearing of a man used to command. I am Othniel ben Kenaz. I served under Joshua. Some of you are old enough to remember. Several elders nod. One, the oldest, half rises. I remember. You fought at my father's side at Ai. Othniel inclines his head in acknowledgement, then continues. I've come about this young man. He gestures to Jabez. I've heard his prayer, I've witnessed his faith, and I've decided to grant him the northern territory I own, 50 acres with everything on it. Silence. Absolute silence. Then Nahshon finds his voice. You can't be serious. This boy, he has no lineage, no standing, no... He has God. Othniel's voice cuts through. And he has faith. That's more than I can say for most men with perfect lineage and full standing. But his name is Jabez, which means pain. And according to the records, Othniel produces a small scroll from his robe. There was once a man named Jabez, who was more honorable than his brothers, whose prayer God answered, who became a blessing despite his name. He looks directly at Nahshon. Tell me, what does your name mean? Success? Blessing? And yet here you are, trying to curse a boy God has chosen to bless. Which of you is living up to your name? Nahshon's face goes white, then red. He half rises, shaking. This is, you can't, I can, and I am. Othniel turns to the other elders. I'm also adopting him into my household, making him my son with all the rights and privileges that entails. The elder who recognized Othniel earlier speaks carefully. This is unprecedented. The boy has caused disruption. The fever broke. Every child recovered. I heard the reports on my way in. Othniel's voice is iron. You had a plague, and it ended. You should be grateful, not looking for someone to blame. Eleazar, who has been silent until now, speaks. His voice is thin but clear. Othniel ben Kenaz speaks truth. We have witnessed something remarkable. A boy with nothing asked God for everything, and God is answering. He looks at each elder in turn. We can resist this, cling to our rules and orders and comfortable categories, or we can recognize what God is doing and step aside. Azariah, the head elder, steeples his fingers. He's been quiet, watching, thinking. Finally he speaks. This is irregular, but these are irregular times. He looks at Jabez. If Othniel ben Kenaz vouches for you, if he's willing to grant you territory and adopt you, who are we to stand in the way? Nahshon explodes. This is madness. You're going to let a cursed boy? He's not cursed. Azariah's voice is firm. He's chosen, and we've just witnessed God prove it. He stands, and the other elders follow, all except Nahshon, who remains seated, trembling with rage. Othniel ben Kenaz, this assembly accepts your offer. Jabez ben Shema. He pauses. then corrects himself. Jabez ben Othniel, you are recognized as a son of this village, with all rights and privileges. The words hang in the air. Jabez can't breathe, can't process what just happened. He has a name, a real name, not just Pain, but son of Othniel, son of a warrior, son of a man who walked with Joshua. Othniel's hand settles on his shoulder, heavy, warm, the weight of a father's blessing. Come, let me show you your inheritance. They walk out of the assembly house into sunlight that seems brighter than before. The village is gathered outside, waiting. When they see Jabez and Othniel together, understanding ripples through the crowd. Jabez's mother is there, tears streaming down her face. She doesn't speak, just opens her arms. He goes to her and she holds him like she did when he was small, like she's trying to absorb what just happened through her skin. Would your father, she whispers, if he could see you now, you never talk about him. I know, but he would have been so proud. Othniel gives them their moment, then gestures to his horses. The land is half a day's ride north. We should leave before noon if we want to arrive before dark. Today, tomorrow, the rest of your life. Othniel smiles. Territory doesn't wait, boy. Neither does purpose. Jabez looks at his mother. She nods, even though her eyes are wet. Go, build something. He turns to mount the horse Othniel offers, a fine animal better than anything he's ever touched, when Nashon's voice rings out. This isn't over. You think one rich man can erase what you are. You're still Pain. You'll always be Pain. Jabez stops, turns slowly. For a moment, he looks at Nashon, really looks at him. Sees not an enemy, but a broken man clinging to certainty because uncertainty terrifies him. A man who built his identity on being blessed, who can't conceive of a God who might bless the wrong people. Jabez could say something cutting, could throw Nashon's words back at him, could savor this victory. Instead, he says quietly, You're right. I am Pain. That's my name. But it's not my identity. Not anymore. He mounts the horse. God didn't remove my name. He redeemed it. And that's the difference between curse and blessing. A curse says you're only what you were called. A blessing says you can become what God calls you. He looks down at Nashon from horseback, but there's no triumph in his face, just sadness. I'll pray for you, that you find what you're looking for, that God shows you what he showed me. Then he turns the horse and rides out of the village beside Othniel, his mother watching until they disappear beyond the hills, her hand raised in blessing over the son she named in Pain, who became her greatest joy. Behind them, the village slowly disperses, people returning to their houses, their lives, their routines. But nothing is quite the same. Something has shifted, and in his house, alone, Nashon sits in darkness, his hands shaking, staring at nothing. Because for the first time in his life, he's afraid that everything he believed might be wrong. The journey north takes them through land Jabez has never seen, rolling hills that give way to valleys thick with olive trees, streams that run clear and cold, not like the brackish wells of his village. Fields already planted, workers bent among the rows, looking up as the procession passes. This is all his now. The thought doesn't feel real. They arrive at sunset. The house sits on a rise, stone walls warm in the dying light, larger than anything Jabez has imagined living in. Orchards stretch behind it, pomegranate, fig, almond. A vineyard slopes down the hillside. Sheep graze in a distant pasture, their bleating carrying on the wind. Othniel dismounts, helps Jabez down. 50 acres. The house needs some repair. It's been empty since... He doesn't finish, doesn't need to. Since his son died, I don't know what to say. Don't say anything yet. Wait until you've worked it for a season, then tell me if you're grateful. Othniel's smile is slight but genuine. Land is a gift and a burden. It demands everything, gives back what you put in. no more. He leads Jabez inside. The house is indeed empty but well built. Stone floors, high ceilings to keep cool in summer, a hearth large enough to warm several rooms, furniture covered with cloth against dust, windows that look out over the valley. In the largest room, a table. On it, a scroll weighted with stones. Othniel unrolls it. The deed, in your name, Jabez ben Othniel. Everything here is yours to steward. Jabez stares at his name written in formal script. Official, legal, real. Why me? Othniel is quiet for a long moment. When he speaks, his voice is thick, because my son died protecting people he loved, died so others could live. And when I heard your prayer, keep me from evil, that I may not cause pain, I knew. He looks at Jabez. You're not trying to avoid pain for yourself. You're trying to stop spreading it to others. That's what my son did. That's who he was. He rolls the scroll carefully. You can't replace him. I'm not asking you to, but you can carry forward what he would have built. Purpose doesn't die with people. It transfers. That night, Jabez sleeps in a real bed for the first time in his life. The mattress is stuffed with wool, the blankets thick and warm. He should feel comfort, peace. Instead, he lies awake, staring at unfamiliar shadows on an unfamiliar ceiling. Everything has changed so fast. 3 weeks ago, he was hauling stones for men who wouldn't meet his eyes. 2 weeks ago, his mother was dying. 1 week ago, the village wanted him gone. Now he owns 50 acres and has a father. The whiplash of it makes him dizzy. He rises, walks outside. The night is clear, stars scattered thick across black sky. He walks up the rise behind the house, finds a flat rock, sits, and realizes this is the first time since he was 12 that he's prayed alone under stars, without desperation driving him, without needing something impossible, without begging. He doesn't know how to pray gratitude. He's never had enough to be grateful for, so he just sits, quiet, present, and whispers, "Thank you. I don't understand why, but thank you." The weeks that follow are a blur of work. Learning the land, which fields need water when, which trees are old and which are new, where the good grazing is, how to manage the workers Othniel employs. There are 12 of them, families who've worked this land for years, who knew Othniel's son, who now take orders from a teenager named Pain. At first, they're skeptical, watchful, testing him with small acts of defiance, arriving late, doing sloppy work, asking questions they already know the answers to just to see how he'll respond. Jabez doesn't assert authority. He works alongside them. Harder than them, actually. Up before dawn, last to quit at dusk. When a wheel breaks on a plow, he fixes it himself instead of ordering someone else to do it. When the irrigation channel clogs, he's the first one wading in to clear it. After 2 weeks, an older worker named Sheila approaches him. "You're the master. You don't have to work like a hired hand." "I know. So why do you?" Jabez straightens, wiping sweat from his face. "Because I spent 15 years being told I was nothing. I'm not going to spend the rest of my life proving I'm something by making you do what I won't." Sheila studies him for a long moment, then nods slowly. Othniel chose well. After that, the work becomes partnership instead of test. But the real challenge comes 3 months in. Jabez is in the northern field, checking the wheat, nearly ready for harvest, when he sees riders approaching. 6 of them, armed, wearing the colors of the regional governor. They stop at the house, speak with the workers, then ride toward him. The lead rider dismounts. He's older, scarred, with the bearing of a soldier. "You're Jabez." "I am. I'm Kemuel, captain of the governor's guard. We've had reports of bandits in this region. 3 farms burned in the past month, 2 families killed." Jabez's stomach clenches. "How close?" 5 miles west, moving east. Kemuel's eyes scan the fields. "Your land is isolated, good land, which makes it a target. The governor is assembling a militia. We need men." "I have workers, but they're farmers, not..." Not them. You. Kemuel looks him over. You're young, but you're strong, and Othniel says you're brave. He sent you. He did. Said if bandits come for this land, they're coming for his legacy. He wants it defended. Jabez's mind races. He's never fought, never held a weapon except tools. But the land, the workers, the families living here, they're his responsibility now. When? We leave at dawn. Bring whatever weapons you have. That night, Jabez can't sleep again. He paces the house, then finally goes outside, climbs the rise, sits on his familiar rock. This is what he prayed for. Enlarge my territory. But territory isn't just land. It's everything that comes with it. The protection, the responsibility, the cost. He thinks about Othniel's son, dying so others could escape. About the prayer, keep me from evil, that I may not cause pain. What if he causes pain by fighting? What if he kills someone? But what if he causes more pain by doing nothing, by letting bandits burn homes and kill families because he's too afraid to act? He prays, not with words this time, just sitting there, holding the tension, trusting that God sees it too. Dawn comes cold and grey. Kemuel's militia gathers at the village 3 miles south. 27 men, farmers and merchants and craftsmen, holding spears and bows they barely know how to use. Othniel is there, too old to fight but present to command. He finds Jabez, pulls him aside. You don't have to do this. You're young, you've already survived more than most. The land is mine to steward. That means protecting it. Othniel grips his shoulder. My son said the same thing, right before he died. I know. And you're still going. Because of what he showed me, that blessing isn't about safety, it's about purpose, even when purpose costs everything. Othniel's eyes shine. He pulls Jabez into an embrace, brief, fierce. Then go with God and come back. They march west, 3 days of hard travel, sleeping in the open, eating cold food, every man tense and watchful. Kemuel scouts ahead, returns with reports. The bandits are camped in a narrow valley, 30 of them well-armed, confident. We're outnumbered, someone mutters. We have surprise, Kemuel counters, and we're defending our homes. They're just taking what they can. They attack at dawn. Jabez will remember it in fragments for the rest of his life. The way morning mist clung to the valley floor, turning everything ghostly. The shout that broke the silence, sending bandits scrambling, the weight of the spear in his hands, heavier than he expected, awkward. The first man who ran at him, blade raised, eyes wild. Jabez moved without thinking, the way Kemuel taught him, pivot, thrust, the sickening resistance as the spear found flesh. The man's eyes going wide, the sound he made, not quite a scream. The way he fell, Jabez standing frozen, staring at what he'd done. Then Kemuel's voice, move, don't stop. The battle is chaos, 10 minutes that feel like hours, men shouting, clashing, falling. Jabez moves through it in a daze, his body doing things his mind hasn't caught up to, and then it's over. The bandits flee, those who can still run. The militia stands among the fallen, breathing hard, some wounded, all shaking. Jabez looks down at his hands. They're covered in blood, not his blood. He turns away, walks to the edge of the valley, and vomits until there's nothing left. Kemuel finds him there, hands on his knees, gasping. First kill. Jabez nods, unable to speak. It never gets easier, but it gets necessary. Kemuel's voice isn't unkind. You saved lives today. Remember that when the nightmares come. They return to Othniel's land 3 days later. Jabez is silent the entire journey, his mind replaying the moment the spear went in, the look in the man's eyes, the sound, keep me from evil, that I may not cause pain. He caused pain, took a life. Is that what God intended when he answered his prayer? But then he thinks about the families on his land, sleeping safely because the bandits are gone. About the children who won't watch their homes burn, about the workers who can harvest wheat without fear. Maybe causing pain and protecting life aren't always separable, Maybe blessing carries cost. He arrives home to find his workers gathered at the house. When they see him, blood-stained and exhausted, they don't shy away. They come forward, help him down from his horse, bring water and food. Sheila clasps his shoulder. We heard, you fought for us. For all of us. Still, most masters would have sent workers to fight while they stayed safe. You went yourself. That night, Jabez bathes, scrubbing until his skin is raw, trying to wash away more than dirt. Then he climbs his hill, sits on his rock, and faces God. I killed a man today, ended a life, and I don't know if that was blessing or curse. I don't know if I did right. No voice answers, no certainty descends, just silence and stars. But slowly, something settles in his chest. Not peace exactly, but acceptance. That blessing doesn't mean never causing pain. It means causing the right kind of pain, the kind that protects, that defends, that stands between evil and the vulnerable. His prayer wasn't asking to never hurt anyone. It was asking to not cause the kind of pain his name represented. Purposeless suffering, inherited curse, spreading shame. This was different. Costly, yes, but purposeful. He whispers into the night. I don't understand all of this, but I trust you. Keep teaching me what blessing means. Months pass. The wheat harvest comes in abundant, more than expected. Othniel visits, walks the fields with Jabez, nods approval at what he sees. The land is thriving. You have a gift for this. I'm just trying to be faithful. That's the gift. Othniel stops, looks at him seriously. I'm getting old. Soon, all of this, everything I have, will be yours. Not just these 50 acres, all my holdings, my household. My name, Jabez stares. I can't. You can, and you will. Othniel's voice is firm but warm. You asked God to enlarge your territory. He's answering. Keep praying that prayer, boy. God's not finished yet. 1 year after leaving his village, Jabez returns for the first time. He rides through the gates on a fine horse, wearing good clothes, his appearance completely transformed. People stop and stare. He finds his mother at her bread stall, still in the same spot, still kneading dough with strong hands. When she sees him, her face lights up with joy so pure it makes his chest ache. They embrace for a long time, neither speaking. When they finally pull apart, she touches his face, studying him. You look different. I am different. No, she smiles. You look like who you always were, just finally visible. That night, there's a gathering. Not quite a feast, but close. People come, some out of curiosity, some out of genuine warmth. They ask about his land, his work, his life. They treat him with respect that used to be unthinkable. Nahshon doesn't come. Jabez notices, but doesn't ask. The next morning, as he's preparing to leave, he sees Nahshon at the edge of the village. The elder looks old suddenly, bent, diminished. When he sees Jabez, he doesn't sneer or insult, just looks away, ashamed. Jabez walks over, stops a few paces away. I meant what I said. I'm praying for you. Nahshon's hands shake. When he speaks, his voice is barely a whisper. I was wrong about you, about God, about everything. Then start over. It's never too late to ask for blessing. I'm too old, too proud, too... You're afraid, I know. I spent my whole life afraid. Jabez steps closer. But God doesn't need our perfection, just our hunger, just our willingness to reach. He doesn't wait for a response, just mounts his horse and rides away, leaving Nahshon standing in the dust, tears streaming down his weathered face. Years pass. Jabez becomes known throughout the region, not as pain, but as the man who prayed the impossible prayer and watched God answer. People come to him for advice, for wisdom, to learn how to steward land and lead people and trust God. He marries a woman named Hodiah, strong and wise, who knows his story and loves him anyway. They have children, 4 of them. And when each is born, Jabez holds them close and speaks blessing over them, the blessing he never received, the blessing he fought to believe existed. Othniel dies peacefully in his sleep at 73. His last words to Jabez, "You honored my son's memory. Thank you." Jabez inherits everything. The land multiplies. The workers become family. The region prospers, and every night, before sleep, he prays the same prayer that changed everything. "Oh, that you would bless me indeed, and enlarge my territory, that your hand would be with me, and that you would keep me from evil, that I may not cause pain." One evening, decades later, Jabez sits on his favorite hill, the one behind his house, where he first learned to pray gratitude. His hair is grey now, his hands gnarled from years of work. His oldest son sits beside him, 16, asking questions about inheritance and purpose. "How did you know?" the boy asks. "How did you know God would answer?" Jabez thinks for a long moment. "I didn't. That's what faith is, praying anyway. Not because you know God will answer the way you want, but because you can't not ask." "Were you scared? Terrified?" "Every day. But you kept going. Because the alternative was staying, pain, and I knew, somehow, deep down, that God had more for me than that name." His son is quiet, processing. Then, "What if someone prays like you did and nothing changes?" Jabez looks at his son, healthy, blessed, loved, secure, and realizes everything changed. Not just externally, internally. The prayer didn't just give him land, it gave him identity. "Everything changes," he says quietly. Maybe not circumstances, maybe not immediately, but if you pray that prayer with your whole heart, you change. And once you change, circumstances have to shift around who you're becoming. The sun sets, painting the valley gold and crimson. Fields stretch below, wheat and barley, olive groves and vineyards. His land, his purpose, his blessing. But more than that, his story. The one God wrote on top of the name his mother spoke. Pain became purpose, curse became calling, shame became story. He stands, helps his son up. "Come, your mother will wonder where we are." They walk down the hill together, father and son. And Jabez realizes this is the prayer answered, not just the land or the wealth or the respect. This, walking with his son, speaking blessing over him, building a legacy that starts with faith instead of fear. "Abba," his son asks, "will you teach me to pray like you?" Jabez stops, kneels so they're eye to eye, places both hands on his son's shoulders, the gesture he longed for his entire childhood. "I'll teach you, but first know this. You're not praying to earn God's love. You're praying because you already have it. The blessing isn't in what you get. It's in who He's making you." "I understand." "Good. Then repeat after me, 'Oh, that you would bless me indeed.'" And as his son's young voice lifts the ancient prayer into the evening air, Jabez closes his eyes and thanks God for the 1,000th time, not just for answered prayer, but for the journey that made the answer meaningful, because that's what he finally understands. God didn't just give him territory, God gave him transformation. And that's the real blessing, the one that lasts, the one that transfers to the next generation, the one that turns pain into praise. And God is still answering. It's an invitation, because the prayer of Jabez isn't ancient history. If this story moved something in you, if you need to believe God can redeem your name, subscribe, turn on the bell, and share this with someone who needs hope. Your story isn't over. It's just beginning. And then watch. Because the God who heard a boy named Jabez, the God who turned his curse into calling, is the same God listening to you right now. Don't pray it because you're worthy. Pray it because God loves turning the unworthy into the chosen, the broken into the beautiful, pain into purpose. "Oh, that you would bless me indeed and enlarge my territory, that your hand would be with me, and that you would keep me from evil, that I may not cause pain." So pray it, right now, out loud if you can. God doesn't just bless the blessed, He blesses the desperate, the ones who have nothing left to lose, the ones who dare to pray audacious prayers even when their voices shake. Your name doesn't have to be your destiny. But here's what Jabez learned, what his story has been whispering across centuries. Maybe you carry a name you didn't choose. Maybe people spoke identity over you before you could speak for yourself. Maybe you've been marked by circumstances, mistakes, or someone else's fear.